Now, could South Africa find itself in the dark ages in the near future? Power utility Eskom is battling to keep the lights on. Infrastructure failures, a lack of maintenance and alleged sabotage have been blamed for the blackouts. Energy and infrastructure finance specialist Ruse Moleshe joins me now to delve into this a little bit further. Very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Now, so much has been said about Andre de Ruyter and the job that he's doing. Some saying, you know what, he's not doing a good job. And are we, first of all, are we expecting a little too much from him a bit too soon? And I say this because just lately in the press, a day ago, you know, there were Eskom employees that were suspended. 3 were also arrested. There were basically, this was for 1.3 billion rand in spares that went missing at Tutuka. The picture I'm trying to paint here is of people that are trying to sabotage, that have been stealing equipment from many of the base stations, from many of, you know, the power stations themselves. Is he going after the right people? What type of job do you think he's doing?
It's a combination, I guess. First and foremost, good afternoon to the viewers and good afternoon to you. From my perspective, I think it's a combination of things. There's historical issues to the challenges that Eskom is facing, but at the same time, there's some responsibilities that obviously when you are steering a ship that you will be responsible for. That will include your project management, that will include making sure that there's enough security within Eskom to make sure that some of these things that that have been referred to as sabotage are at least mitigated. We hear that Eskom is putting in place more security measures that must be commended. Yeah, so it's a bit of a mix in terms of performance.
You know, when you look at the fact that they've got to put in, you know, extra security, it sounds really, it sounds ominous. So to the point where he comes in, he's got to now put in extra security. He speaks to that historical problems that have been there for such a long time. Again, I just want to go back to the fact that, are we expecting as a nation too much from this man?
In some respects we are, but I will again say at the end of the day, if you are the CEO, to a certain extent, some of the current issues you have to shoulder those as your responsibility. I guess that is why they are putting together with the board a plan to try and mitigate some of those issues. Yes, as you correctly point out, some of them are from historical issues like corruption, that is governance issues, lapses that have been in place, and those will obviously trickle down to the current management. So to that extent, I have sympathy.
Okay, let's talk about this sabotage that we're hearing. I mean, we're hearing of to a point where sometimes there's steel objects mixed within the coal itself. I mean, this sounds incredibly irresponsible for the people that, you know, when you look at the people that are doing this, you know, when you look at every station, there's a manager there. How deep is the rot?
The rot seems to be very deep because Eskom is a national key point. And as a national key point is one of the facilities in South Africa that's supposed to be very well protected because of its importance and strategic nature in the economy, and energy is an input to everything in the economy. So I just do not understand to what extent there's a loss of control, to an extent that those kind of things can be happening in a power station. What's the responsibility of the power station manager in terms of ensuring that there's security, in terms of ensuring that there's proper performance? It's just it's scary, actually.
It is scary. It sounds like it sounds like we're making things up. Sounds a bit like a movie. Okay, let's talk about the alternatives, because we've spoken so much about what's wrong in terms of Eskom, what needs to be done. The alternatives obviously has got to be renewables. Are we moving fast enough towards that goal as South Africa?
Yes, the alternatives are renewable energy and other power supply options, but I guess from a short-term point of view, the quickest that can be brought on stream are renewable energy projects, both from that can be procured from the government procurement program, Renewable Energy IPP procurement program, but also from private sector entities that can put in their own capacities using their own finances. Because as you correctly point out, we have mentioned so many problems that Eskom has, and part of the problems, besides the technical corruption and others, there are financial constraints that Eskom faces. So to an extent, the private sector coming in and bringing in capacity so that Eskom needs to do relatively less. I mean, they've mentioned they need to over 4,000. There's a shortage in the country of over 4,000 megawatts. That's no mean feat. That's a big ask. So it's encouraging to hear that government is trying to get together. I know the IPP office mentioned to get all the stakeholders around the table who can try and resolve all the constraints that are delaying some of the projects from getting on stream and trying to meet Eskom halfway.
Okay, so basically what you're saying, if I'm an IPP, I come up, I've said it cost me 2 billion rand to put up my plant. I'm not 100% sure, and then I feed this electricity into the grid. I'm not 100% sure I'll get my money back from Eskom because they've got financial issues. So the corporate world has to step in, isn't it?
Yeah, so what I'm saying from the corporate perspective, they can have their own programs where they do requests for proposal from IPPs that are in the market to supply their own self-generation, to generate for their own facilities. And that will mean that they will demand relatively less from Eskom. And by that then means that Eskom needs to at least have space to breathe to solve the issues that they have. Of course, we need Eskom. They supply over 95% of the electricity in South Africa, so we cannot forget about them. But at least from a new capacity perspective, we need other players to bring in that new capacity to fill in that gap.
And direct to market is what you're saying. Thank you so much,
yes.
Ruse Moleshe, Energy and Infrastructure Finance Specialist, just looking at Eskom to a certain extent. And what are the alternatives at the present moment?